Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is my spoiler review for Spider-Man No Way Home. If you want to check out my spoiler-free review, check my previous video on my channel. Now, let's get into all the spoilers for this film. Right, let's get to the biggest talking point of the movie. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were actually in it, and they were amazing. When they both appeared through the portals, my cinema went mental. All of us, all cheering and clapping in disbelief that they actually came back. Now, I did see the leaks of them being in the movie, but there was still a part of me that was unsure that they were actually in the movie. So when we saw them, I had tears of joy. It was honestly such an incredible moment, seeing both Spider-Men reacting to one another, as well as seeing them interact with Tom's Spider-Man. When they first met, we saw them mentoring him, finishing the iconic line, "With great power comes great responsibility." On that line, I was so happy to hear Aunt May say it. We never met an Uncle Ben in this universe, so to see May say it to him was so beautiful. Peter's reaction to her death was heartbreaking, seeing him being in denial of her death and trying to bring her back. It was such a powerful moment in the film, as well as some incredible acting from Tom Holland. I mentioned this in the spoiler-free review, but I will mention it again. This is the best performance he has as Spider-Man. The happiness, the sadness, the anger, the pain, he displayed it all incredibly. Seeing Tom, Tobey, and Andrew all interacting with each other was mind-blowing. They are all variants of each other and have all suffered loss. They had relatability to each other, but still some major differences too, which was really interesting to see their reactions to those differences. They were also hilarious. Seeing Andrew fanboy over the other Spider-Men was so funny, and having him help out Tobey with his back was iconically funny. They weren't just funny though. When they fought against the villains, they were epic. Not at the start because they weren't working as a team, but when Tom's Spider-Man got them working together, I genuinely believe we saw the best action set piece of all time. When they jumped off the scaffolding and swung round the same web, the audience in my cinema made it sound like someone had scored the last-minute goal to win the match. It was that epic. They just utilised Tobey's and Andrew's characters perfectly. They weren't just there for fan service, they actually really helped Tom's Spider-Man out. And the way they were introduced was so good. I didn't actually expect it in all honesty. Ned using the sling ring to look for their Peter Parker and then accidentally bringing in Tobey and Andrew was so cool and unexpected. I was still focused on the iconic line that Aunt May had said to Peter, and how upset we as an audience were with Aunt May's death, that I didn't even think about Tobey and Andrew at that point. I thought they were actually going to find their Peter Parker. So when I recognised the eyes on Spider-Man's mask as Andrew Garfield's, I went crazy. And that is no exaggeration. I remember my arms flying around in the air in excitement, and I can promise you that I wasn't the only one. I'm such a huge fan of themes in general, so to hear Tobey Maguire's, Andrew Garfield's, and even Electro's theme for just a second was so nice to hear. I have to admit, I also did go crazy when I heard Electro's dubstep theme being used when we saw him for the first time. It was just there for a second when he fired electricity at Spider-Man, but it was so well used. I felt the power of his attack through that moment, and it was actually quite nostalgic, even though the film came out in 2014. A truly magical scene was when Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man saved MJ from falling. Seeing the sadness on his face, remembering Gwen, but then the happiness peeking through because he managed to save MJ, really got me emotional. It was written in the stars that he was going to save her, but somehow, when Tom's Spider-Man got dragged away by Green Goblin, I thought she was going to die. But then seeing Andrew leap down and catch her was such a redeeming moment for the character. This is one of my favourite movies of all time, and I don't know where to put it in my top 3. It's definitely in the top 3, but I need to see it again before making my final decision as to where it ranks. The film was just so well calculated in my opinion. Bringing in Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock as Peter's lawyer within the first 20 minutes was unexpected and yet felt so natural. It didn't feel out of place or forced in. It felt like a genuine part of this incredible story. I also loved how he just casually caught the brick that flew behind him, even surprising Peter. It just felt so normal and yet so exciting. I don't want to repeat anything I said in the spoiler-free video, so I will say that Peter's fight against Green Goblin at the end was scary. Not in a jump scare way, but I was scared for what Peter was going to do to Green Goblin. I was worried that he was going to kill him. Their fight scene was so brutal and cool, and yet frightening. And then seeing Tobey's Spider-Man jump in front of the glider and stop Tom from killing him was also scary. It gave me flashbacks to Spider-Man 3, where Harry died saving Peter from his glider. And I was scared Tom was going to kill Tobey's Spider-Man. So to see him catch it was a relief. But then seeing Green Goblin stab Tobey brought the fear back. The movie really played with my emotions in an incredible way. I loved how it was Tom's Peter Parker that chose to save all these villains, instead of letting them die. But then when he gave up on them and wanted to send them back, the people around him picked him back up and made him realise that with great power comes great responsibility. It actually reminds me a lot of how the people in Superman's life had to remind him of why he saves people, and almost inspires him to keep on going, because it is the right thing to do. It's something that I think a lot of people can relate to, because when we fall, we sometimes have to rely on others to pick us back up. And it's actually going to be a really interesting future story to tell, because with the world not knowing who Peter Parker is anymore, and how he has lost everyone he loves, he is alone, and he doesn't have the guidance of others to help him make the right decisions. Which will be a really interesting dynamic to see, and I hope we do see it. I feel like the final scene in the film of Peter talking to MJ and how he sees her plaster on her head has made him realise that he shouldn't reintroduce himself to them because he doesn't want to put them in danger anymore. So what I would love to see, and this is just a fan hoping, not with any logical thought process at all, but I would love to see Tobey and Andrew's Spider-Man return to help Tom's Spider-Man out in the near future, somehow coming back to this universe, almost as if the Spider-Verse films were turned into live action. I think I can speak for most Spider-Man fans that we would not be upset whatsoever if the other two Spider-Men returned in the near future. It would be a dream come true, and I feel like you could have some really interesting films with the three Spider-Men together or separate. All I do know is that they have set up a really exciting future for Spider-Man. I also love Tom's new suit that he gets at the end of the film. In my top 10 scenes that I would love to see in Spider-Man No Way Home, one of them was to have Peter have a new suit at the end of the film, and that it would have features of Tobey's and Andrew's suits. But they went in a different direction, with making the most comic accurate suit ever, and it looked incredible. I never thought they would be able to pull off a comic accurate suit as well as they did. Sony and Marvel, if by the rare chance that you are watching this video, please get a contract out, use whatever figures Tom Holland wants, and get him to sign it. We have to see more of him as Spider-Man, and if you're feeling cheeky, offer contracts to Tobey and Andrew whilst you're at it. I'm sure 99% of us Spider-Man fans would love to see them return. With Venom now returning to his universe, we could see a Venom vs. Spider-Man film in that universe. There are hints that it is in the Amazing Spider-Man universe, so I'd love to see Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man versus Tom Hardy's Venom. And the same goes for Morbius. With the small bit of Venom symbiote left in this universe, we could see Tom Holland's Spider-Man in the black suit. We now know that he is very good at being an unhinged Spider-Man, and so I think that could be a very interesting film. Or they could use Flash and turn him into Agent Venom. All I know is that this cannot be the final Spider-Man film with Tom Holland, and I would be over the moon if we saw more of Tobey and Andrew. I'm going to see this movie again on Monday, and I'm sure I will pick up on things that I didn't notice the first time watching. I do apologise if I have missed anything in this spoiler review. My head is currently just focused purely on Tobey and Andrew returning, so anything else is just kind of a blur right now. I'm just so excited to see the film again. Genuinely, it's one of the best superhero films ever. I just wish that everyone in my personal life had seen the film at the same time as I did, so I could talk to more people about this movie. So, please make sure to let me know what you thought of Spider-Man No Way Home in the comments below. But that is all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications so you never miss a video. I hope to see you here again soon, so until then, have a great day. Bye!